Francis L. Surdal. I go by my middle name, and my army was Francis L. Surdal, an Adventist, and went through World War II for a little over 3 years. This is Francis L. Surdal, went through World War II as a Seventh-Day Adventist. Well, I turned 18 a week before Pearl Harbor, and I knew at that time that Uncle Sam's going to call. And it was, I didn't go into the Army until in 43. So I spent 1/4 of college at Walla Walla, and then went home and was drafted from there. Well, as I was inducted in Butte, Montana, and I had a sleeper all the way to Utah, and during that day there was a thing that says be a good soldier, and from 2 Timothy, and I decided that was what I would be. So I had basic training, of course, in Camp Barkley, Texas. It's just a matter of everybody had to have that, so I was in one company that I was the only Adventist in the company, and I went through basic training without any problems at all. And anyway, well, I had a pass for every Sabbath, all during basic training, and Sunday morning was KP. That's all right. They knew me in the KP, and I got the best places in there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, on Sabbath we were able to go to the churches, and then you would leave in the morning and generally had to be back by about 11 o'clock. Well, we always tried to get out of town, out of the area, when the Sabbath came, or when we got out of the area so that they didn't call on us. As I say, I never had any problems whatsoever. And I think it was just because I assumed that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. In the final bivouac we had, they came in the evening. There were people in another bed that dropped back and did not stay with the group. They had trouble, but I stayed with the group, and the pass was there the next morning. So I felt that was an ideal way to show that I was not trying to gain anything. Anyway, we finished basic training, I just moved across campus, across the field to the 15th Hospital Center. There was one other Adventist in that group, so we just continued to have passes all the time. They put me up on orders one time to turn into a gunner, and I just talked to the company commander and told him that I was a conscientious objector, and he took me off the order immediately. Anyway, it all worked out very nicely. I could have gone in as a medic in the infantry too, but I didn't have to. I took furlough in December and met my wife at that time. Anyway, we were married in 46. Anyway, we went to England. When we went overseas, that was in 1944, along about February or March, I don't remember just when it was. I believe it was the largest convoy that ever went to England. I'm not sure, but there was ships everywhere. The North Atlantic was pretty rough at that time too, but it was beautiful to see those waves and so forth. And we came down between Scotland and Ireland. The sea was just as smooth as could be. We landed in Swansea and went to our camp in Cirencester, England. Anyway, so we were there in, well, I was there all the time until about, I think it was about September, October, I was transferred to another company, the 12th Hospital Center. There was one other gentleman there with me at that place. But what we did there, well, of course, this was after D-Day. I saw the first casualties come back from D-Day, helped to unload the first train load, then get them into the hospitals. Anyway, after that, I ended up as a clerk, and where we cut the orders for those that were no longer able to do anything during the war. This was a headquarters unit that with hospitals under it. So I never had to work at the hospitals. I was trained as a medical technician, but I never used it much. I think that I was assigned to an area that was protected all the way through, because the things that we did, that we had to do, had to be done, but still, it was no big pressure to have any problems. We were in a more isolated area where than where the air raids were. See, they were in the larger cities, and the cities that we were in were a little smaller. I found that I was able to see a lot of England because they portioned out things that you take the orders to this ship, and so I saw a lot of England. In England, I made friends with people there, and I was just part of their family, actually. Yeah, there was one couple that took us right in, and well, I spent weekends with them at times even. And I think one Christmas I spent with them, with the two family. This couple would have soldiers into their homes right along. Yeah. And there was a couple of homes that I got acquainted with very closely. Yeah. I don't remember the other name that, that's quite a while ago. Well, I had friends that were not Adventists, but still they respected what I did. And fact is, I had one friend that I turned out to be his best man for. He was an Orthodox, Serbian Orthodox wedding. That's just something else. Yeah. I lost track of him after I came to the States, so yeah. Anyway, part of the time before I left the 15th, I spent most of one winter being in the night guard. But that wasn't bad either. I don't know, I didn't do too much, except just what I was assigned to do. I was in the service a little over 3 years. I went in 43 and got out in 46. In September of 1945, they combined all the different hospital centers, all in London. So I spent that time in London. I could have gone home along in March, but I had other plans that I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Norway, and so I volunteered to stay. Anyway, I stayed until they closed out the offices in London and came home. I was in London from about September of 45 until we closed out the offices in June of 46. So I lived right next to we worked right next to the American Embassy. Yeah, my father was 21 when he came over from Norway, went through Ellis Island, and immigrated directly to Montana. And I guess he made a trip or two other places. One summer he spent out fishing in the Pacific, but anyway, he came back and homesteaded in Montana. My father became an Adventist. My folks became an Adventist when Elder Lockett had an effort in Sweetgrass County, Montana. And that would have been about 1922, I believe. So they were Adventists by the time I was born. There were 3 families that joined at the time, and they met together. We generally made church services. They were faithful in that way. The Great Depression was not really. We always had enough to eat. We always had some income from cream and the cows and so forth. So it was just a matter of, we lived good. And we worked at it. The Great Depression was not too much until we had a drought, and that caused us no feed for the cattle. So something had to be done, so he sold out at that time. Well, they moved in with my grandmother for a while, and till we found places that we could rent and continue on our own. We had one place that my father irrigated land, and somebody bought the land, and he said, I will not do what you've done, and because you've made it something that I don't intend to. We were renting this place and making a living on that quarter section, where the person that bought the land decided that he was not going to work the land like my father did. Because my father knew what to do to get that land to produce, where the other people didn't want to do as much to produce as he had. I graduated from Walla Walla in 1950. Went right on into binding books. I started in 1947 while I was in school, and then just continued on for another 6 years at Walla Walla before I moved on to other places. And went to Atlantic Union College, Oshawa, Ontario, and then Andrews University. This was the bookbindery, where we took school books, used school books, and repaired them. Well, they were pretty badly shaped, sometimes. They had to be resewn and repaired all the way through, new covers, and so it was just a major operation for each book. Anyway, I worked at bookbinding until I was 88. Tessar Printing out here in Stevensville asked me to come out and help them. They said they'd bought some machinery and they don't know how to use it, so come out and help us. I said, okay, under one condition: if I want to be gone, I'm gone. They said, that's it. And they says, fine, come on out. Anyway, I was ordained as an elder while I was in Canada, but I never worked anymore on that. I was a deacon all the time. I was a deacon in Atlantic Union College, which is where I first became a deacon, and then Union, and anyway. Well, I believe firmly that Christ is coming very soon, and I think it's very soon. The things that are going on right now are scary. Yeah. Hang on to what you've got. There's no other way out.